Hi everyone, thanks for joining me today as I run through this little project here. It is a mixed media and collaged junk journal, accordion fold insert. So today I'll be running through not just how to construct the actual album itself, but how to create, or how I create my process in creating mixed media and collaged pieces that have layers and depth and texture, a little bit of quirkiness, a bit of fun. My process is very much about play. It's about trusting your intuition and and just seeing what happens and trusting the process. So I really hope you enjoy this little project that I've created here for you. So this is one example of, this is one of the little journals that I've created. So that's the front, that is the back, and then you've got the accordion insert there with some other pieces that I've created here. I've got this little one here, nice little purple one with some bugs. Love some bugs. And that's the front and the back. And another one here that I created. Really love these colours and the textures in this. It's quite beautiful. And that's a nice little one that I created there. Okay, so lined with some book paper, some sheet paper, sheet music. Beautiful. Okay, so to get started, what I tend to do, I tend not to think too much, so just gather some papers to just have handy. So these are really great for your backgrounds. I'm not going to use them all. Obviously, there's a lot here. May or may not use it all, but just have to have it handy is a really great idea. So here I have some journaling paper, some beautiful font paper, some book images, some more journaling paper, text, sheet music, some pianola paper. Sometimes you can get it with prints, like with some print on it as well. That's really lovely. And then just use whatever you can find. So little, these are little bits of wrapping paper, book paper, bit of everything. So just grab a little palette of papers that you might like to use. Then look through your stash of ephemera, through magazines. So Daphne's Diary is really great for this. It's always got great and inspiring images. Daphne's Diary, Flow magazine. There are some really great magazines out there that you can get some really cool images out of. And then just have some handy. So here I've got little bits and pieces. Stamps are really great. Some botanical images. So just gather yourself a few bits and pieces that you may, just to have handy, that you may decide to use. Okay. The other thing, that other paper item that I like to use or have available or at hand is some collage paper, tissue paper, that you can use later on as well. Okay, so that is what you want to have handy in terms of paper wise and embellishments. In terms of your mediums, I like to use acrylic paints. So I have my acrylic paint usually in a black, a Payne's grey, or a Prussian blue. Like, they're the colours I tend to work with. I love working with magenta as well, but you can work with whatever you like, whatever colours you like. I'll have some gorgeous inks available. Really depends on your colour palette and what you're going with. Here I've got some umber and some marine. So just have those paints handy. The other thing is to have some ink pads for inking and for stamping. So, and some lovely stamps that you might like to use. Got some beautiful fonts. You may also want to use some stencils. Okay, so what else do I have here? Have your glues, of course, and any other mediums that you might like to use. You might have crayons or pastels, or you'll have, your Posca pens. There's lots of different, it's up to your imagination, okay? It's really up to you as to how you'd like to do this. Now, I don't tend to, when I'm working on any of my projects, I tend not to think too much about what it is I'm making or where it's going to go. I let my intuition, I let my time to play and just experiment take over and see what happens. So, but I do have a general kind of format that I follow, and so that's what I will run through with you today in terms of my process. So to create your cover, you want a piece of cardstock. I use this heavyweight mixed media cardstock. It's a 6x8 sheet. It's great. It forms a really solid cover, and it's also you know, so it's such a great weight that it'll hold a lot of moisture, paint, different mediums without buckling or pilling or anything like that. So it's a really, really great one to start with. So all right, let's get started. So what I tend to start with doing is I grab, say, one of my markers, usually a sort of a darker color. I think I'm going to go with, rather than black today, I'm going to go with this beautiful aqua or turquoise color. I'm not sure what color it's called, but, or an emerald. It's an emerald green. And I'm going to just start by creating some markings on my sheet. And this is going to allow me to create layers and dimension to the piece. So, okay, so I might start with some scribble font. Okay, a love heart. I might do, sunray. These are just different markings that I might use. They don't necessarily mean anything. Most of likely they're going to get covered in the process, but that's fine. I might do some circles. Just play with the different markings. And what you want to do is you want to have some contrast. So here I've got this beautiful flowy kind of image. So rather than making another flowy image over here, I would probably do something that's a little more solid. So I might go, you know, I love a little cross. So I might do some solid crosses like that. Okay, I might do some dashes through here. This is creating my different layers. And I might do some more dashes through here. You'll see I'll flip my cardstock around, that's fine. I might do, don't think that you have to fill everything up, like you want to leave some space, negative space, but I might do colour these dots in there as well. Okay, that'll do for now. All right, that will do for now, I think. Okay, so I'm going to give that a second just to dry while I grab some paint. So the next thing I'm going to do is add some paint. So I've got my colours already aside here, and I'm just going to grab a brush and I'll just wet that, and let me add some colour to this. So I'm going to add a little bit of colour over here. Okay, and I might just add a dash of colour over here. Block of colour. Again, I'm not thinking too much about it. I'm just creating markings. Okay. All right, so that'll do for now. While I let that dry, I want to grab some of my background papers. So I had these background papers here. I am going to add some pianola paper. Really like the ones with the holes in it, so I'm going to grab those. I'm going to add some I might add one of these little booklets because they're in kind of those colours that I like. Might add some music to there as well. And I think I'm going to bring in a little bit of this yellow, kind of like. Okay, so that's what I'm going to start with for now. Okay, so while that's drying, it's a very light layer, so actually you can probably, instead of doing the paint first, you might want to start with adding your paper first. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to tear, and without thinking too much about it, I'm just going to start gluing bits of paper on. So I'm going to stick that one there, and I'm going to start to overlap some of the markings that I've made. Now, depending on the transparency of some of these papers, those markings may come through a little bit. So I can actually see just underneath this sheet music a little bit of that marking coming through, which is quite lovely. Oops. Okay. Now you can use whatever glue you like. I'm just using a glue stick. You can always go back at the very end and seal the piece with, you know, like a matte medium or something like that, just to make sure that everything is nice and secure, but that's fine. I'd really love to stick this pianola paper down. I'm just going to wait for that to dry over here first, actually. I'm going to do this. Take some of that excess paint off. Now you'll see that I work on a large sheet of mixed media paper as my base. So I let things dry, I wipe off paint, I'll stamp on here, I'll practice my markings on here, and then often this background sheet will become the base of another project. That's a really great way to reuse that. Yeah, so that's nearly good. So okay, so here I have some pianola paper. I'm going to stick down the sort of shinier side of it so that the matte side is facing up, and that will just give me an opportunity later to stamp over it really beautifully and work over the top of it. So you can see, you should be able to see through there, how you can actually see some of the markings from underneath, which is quite lovely. All right, there we go. Now stick that one down. And beautiful. Now I hope everybody's having a lot of fun and starting to sort of think about what kind of materials you might be able to use for your project when you start making this. So I'll put another one of this, remembering that one of these is going to be the front of your booklet and one is going to be the back page of your booklet, of your little journal. Okay. I love how the pianola paper, depending on where I pop it, exposes some of the colours from underneath through the little holes, which is really lovely. I really like that too. Okay. Now what you'll find as you work on this project is it's going to look really ugly at points, okay? You're going to be going, what is she doing, right? Don't stress about that. You need to just trust the process. It's actually quite amazing. Like, they can really start off looking quite ugly, but once you get to the very end, once it all just kind of comes together, and it's quite lovely. So I am just going to add some more bits. Again, I'm not worried too much. Do kind of have to think about it a little bit, like I'm just trying to think so that I don't fully cover everything, so that there is some balance to what I'm creating. Create a little cluster over here. Okay, got a little bit over there. Just going to pull a little bit more of that. And I'll bring a little bit of this check to the front as well. Okay. I love collage because you can use pretty much everything. A lot goes to waste, which is lovely. Okay. Okay, there we go. Alrighty. So now, okay, so I've put a little bit of a base. I might actually put a little bit more of something here. Let me just see what I've got. I might pop this cool postage stamp, which I might like to put somewhere. I might pop that one, say there. It'll get partially cut. Yeah, I might pop that one there. I quite like where that colour scheme is going. Okay. Oh. Okay. So now I will move some of this out of the way. Right. Just pop one more piece. Maybe there. Door. Yeah, I'll pop that one there. Okay. All right. Okay, there we go. All right, so I've still got some blank part bits, got some paper, some different colours that will pop out. Now I want to pop another layer of paint over the top. So I'm going to get a little bit of that green that I was using earlier, just like a beautiful blue green, and I'm going to pop a bit now over the top. Okay. Some over there, so I want to bring some over here. Okay. Just into in. I might put some over here. Okay, and I will just now bring in another colour. So I am thinking I will bring in just a lighter, some light. It's just like a light grey colour. It's kind of like a, what do they call this? It is a, it's like a sandy kind of colour. Unbleached titanium it's called. So just going to bring a little bit of that in as well. So again, I don't want to cover everything, just bringing in. Okay, and what I'm doing, so I'm just adding a bit more kind of texture to this. Oh, that one didn't stick down properly. And a bit more colour to it. Okay, don't know where this is going, so we're just playing here. All right, here I might just. Okay. Actually, I don't love this bit, but the thing is, with collage and with this kind of a project, don't worry too much because you can always cover it. You can always cover it. All right, so there it is. That's how it's looking so far. Let me see what we're going to do next. So let's give that a second to kind of dry. And then what I might do now, once it dries, let me just see if this is still plugged in, and I might just dry it with a little dryer. Give me 1 second, excuse me, while I plug this in and help to kind of dry this a little bit quicker. Alright, would love to know where everybody's calling in from and watching from. Alright, let's just dry some of this. Okay, so while that's still a little bit wet, but while it's drying on its own, what I'm going to grab now is just some Distress Collage Medium, Tim Holtz. That's Tim Holtz one, Tim Holtz product, and I love this product. So because what it's going to do, it's going to just antique up the page a little bit, so take some of the starkness away from it. So just get a little bit on my finger, and I love this process. I feel like a little child. Finger painting, and I just come in over the entire surface. Now be careful not to do what I just did then, and if it's anything is still wet, mush it around too much. Sometimes it can look okay, but otherwise other times it can just make the project look really muddy and dirty. So I'm just going to come in on the white parts, and on anything that's maybe a little stark, and I'm going to start to on this, this stamp here. And I'm going to just start to there we go. Okay, so you can already see that it's starting to change effect, like take effect, this kind of antiquing image. Quite love it. It's quite a beautiful product. I use it in pretty much everything to where I want to give it a bit more of an antique look, or just take starkness away from the project. So there we go. Okay, so I'm going to just do that. A little bit around the edge here. Okay, beautiful. Okay, so that's looking good. I'm happy with the way that that's looking now. So you can see the boldness, the white in the background, the boldness of some of the colours have kind of become a little more subtle. So give me 1 second. I'm just going to quickly dry this. Okay, beautiful. All right, so that's looking okay. Quite like the way that's looking now. All right, so now what I want to do is I want to add some more layers to it. So that's where I'll start to grab my stamps. I really love this stamp here. It's an oldie but a goodie. Geez, I've had it, possibly one of the oldest stamps I own. And I want to, just going to use, this is just espresso truffle, so it's kind of like a grey, a beautiful dark grey, and I'm going to start to stamp some images onto my background. Okay. There we go. Okay. Okay, beautiful. So that just adds like a little more dimension to that background. Okay. Now I'm going to add more layers. So I think now what I need to add is some tissue paper. So especially here. So I don't kind of love this. I'm struggling with a little bit of this. I think it needs a bit more here. Kind of don't really love that. So to take a bit of that intensity out, I'm going to just pop some. Oh, that just went everywhere. That was silly of me. That just went everywhere. Just pop some. Don't really do it like that, but I will. Okay. Some tissue paper on there. Some collage paper. And I love that because it just adds another layer. You can still see the green through there. I can still see some of that dark grey, but it's not as intense. Okay, and I might just pull a little bit more of that out. I really like this kind of little font up here, so I might just always try to tear my collage paper. Gives it a bit nicer finish. I'll pop that one up here. Did I put that? Oh, excuse my dog. Someone's here. Oh. Okay, there we go. And it's my cheeky dog. She can hear somebody barking. She can hear somebody outside. And then I'm going to just pop a little bit on the front too, which I really like that. So please excuse her barking. There we go. Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, I really like that. So that is coming along quite nicely. All right, so I've added some stamping, I've added some tissue paper, I've added some paint. Now I might want to come in with a bit of fun, so something a bit like, I might actually bring in something a bit brighter. So I'm going to bring in a little bit of this gorgeous colour. I'm just going to do a few little markings like this. And then I can just take some of the excess off there, just to write a little bit quicker, and it just sort of again takes away some of the intensity of it. And then I want to add, I might add some gorgeous distress. I'm going to add a bit of, this is just like a distress crayon, water active. So I'm just going to add a little bit of scribbles around the page. And take a little bit of water and just activate that. And it just gives it a little bit of a cool watermark. And I'll just let that dry. And that just adds some more sort of layers to it as well. Okay, so let me just try that. All right, so I'm really liking that. So what I might add at this stage is I might add another, like a cutout or a piece of, you know, another bit of ephemera, or, you know, something else that I might like to add to that. Kind of like, don't mind that. Actually, it's probably enough there, but I might add a little bit of that over here. Okay, so I'm going to add a little bit of this one over here, just into my edges. Okay, and that's looking quite good. I'm really quite happy with the way that that's looking so far. All right, so we can always add more later. Okay, what I will add at this point, so let me just grab a tiny bit of that distress medium just to. Okay. All right, so let me see if there's anything else that I particularly love over here. That'll do. That's fine. I'm quite happy with that. All right, so what I'll do at this point is I will, if it's dry enough, is I will cut it into the front and back, and then I'll show you what we do from there. So product placement for my favorite catchy crafts. I've got a front and a back. Okay, so what I'll do now is I want to ink around my edges. So I'll grab, usually ink around in a brown of some sort. To antique it up a bit. Okay, I think I'm going to need a new ink pad soon. Okay, and here is another one. Okay, there we go. So I've inked around the edges. Got my front, got my back, and I can then have a better idea of what else I think it might need. So I've got a cute little spot stamp that I love to use, so I might just add a few little spots here and there. Some spots there, some over there, and over here. All right. Okay, so I've added some spots, I've added some, so I've inked, I've added some tissue paper, I've done some stamping, I've added some ephemera. I pretty much like that. So then I might come over the top as well, and I might use some white, like a white Posca pen or marker, or paint marker. This isn't a Posca pen, but it's a white marker. Let me see, what might I do? Some sort of a dash here. Okay, and again, just gonna dab it. Just takes a little bit bit of the intensity out of it. Do some, love some dashes. Put some dashes up there. Take some of the intensity out by doing that. Then I'll do something over here. Some spots there. Maybe some spots down there. There we go. Okay, and then I might just leave those a little bit brighter. Okay, there's my front and my back. Done. Okay, really like that. I might add some words onto that later on if I want to, or some more images. I might do some add an image and raise it if I wanted to. So there's quite a bit that you can actually do. It's really up to your imagination. So what I want to do now is, see, I even love this, but I wouldn't know where to put it. You know, like something that's a bit of a surprise, a bit of a pop of colour. I'm not sure. Let me have a look. We can always add it later on. Okay, we can always add some more later on. Okay, so then that's the front. So then for your back, you just want to cover it with anything that you've got. So I might use some sheet music. That's what I used earlier, if I have some, or I might use some journaling paper. It's got the blue. That actually goes quite nice with that. So I might even use some of that on the inside. And I want, let me just get my cutter again. 4x6. That's not that way. I'm going to do it this way. So hang on a moment because of the sound. Keep your little selvages because you never know when you might need them. Okay, and then you just want to glue that onto the back there. Okay, so use generally use a double-sided tape, or use you know, a strong glue. But for now, I'm just going to use my glue stick, which also works fine because it's not like it's a heavy insert that I'm using, so it tends to work okay. It just depends on the quality, I guess, of your glue. Okay, there it. There's my insert. Here's my other insert. Not sure which way this font goes. I think that's correct. Okay, so once you've actually lined the inside of your booklet, of your covers, you just want to again ink around those edges so that if any of the white is showing through, like it just gets covered, just gives a nicer finish. Also if the core of the paper that you've used is white as well, it'll just make sure that that's inked. Okay, there we go. Beautiful. All right, there we go. I'm happy with that. So there's my front and my back. There's my little journal cover. Okay, for the insert, very, very simple. All you want to do is you get yourself a long sheet of paper. So I use, this is actually wrapping paper or butcher paper. And you want to cut a piece that is, I think I measured it at, 505 centimeters by about 140 centimeters. Okay, and then all you're going to do is you're going to take your strip. I've deckled the edges. You might rip it, you might just cut it straight. It's completely up to you. You can use whatever paper you want. You might have some lovely, like a heavier cardstock. You might have some beautiful watercolor so that you can actually use it as a watercolor journal. It's up to you as to how you want to, what type of paper you want to use. So you want to cut it to that size, and then you simply fold it in half and then fold it back on each other. So you're getting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 equal sides, okay? And then you just take one of the folds or one of the pages and you glue it to the inside of the front cover, and then you glue the other to the inside of the back cover, right? So that basically when you, so you glue it or double side tape it, however you want to secure it, so that basically when you open it up, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 faces on one side, and then on the other side you'll have 1, 2, 3, 4 faces, okay? And that is it. So if you have any questions, please do reach out and ask. I do hope you enjoy it. I can't wait to see your creations. Please just have fun with the process. Don't stress too much. You can always cover it. If you have any questions, do feel free to reach out and ask. And I look forward to seeing your creations, and thank you so much for joining. Bye.